Hi, good evening. Welcome. This is the first of our two April meetings for the Somerville Historic Preservation Commission. It's April 15th, 6:49 p.m. 2025. I'll call this meeting into order. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, this meeting of the Somerville Historic Preservation Commission will be conducted by remote participation. A video recording of these proceedings will be available at the city website's meetings and events page or by emailing historic@somervillemath.gov. And just a reminder that our commission is bound by certain rules of conduct, and we expect members of the public who will be commenting to abide or to respect those as well. And just get my screen back. Before going on, let's do our customary introductions. We'll start with Ms. Price.
Hello, my name is Denise Price and I live in a local historic district.
Thank you. Mr. Falvey.
Hi, my name is Ryan Falvey and I'm a resident of Ward 2.
Thanks. Mr. Shagnon.
I'm DJ Shagnon. I'm the landscape architect on the commission and a resident of Ward 5.
Thank you. And we have Mr. Bauer with us tonight.
I'm Dick Bauer. I'm an attorney who was trained as a city planner, and I live in Ward 3.
Thank you all. And I'm Eric Parks, the chair, resident of Ward 3, and architect and historic homeowner. And we have several members of staff here. If you would like to introduce yourselves as well. Ms. Anthony.
I am Madison Anthony, and I'm a planner with Planning, Preservation, and Zoning.
And we have Ms. White.
And I'm Sarah White. I'm a senior planner also with the Planning, Preservation, and Zoning Division.
Cool. We have a fairly light agenda tonight. We have two items of business. The first is a memorandum of agreement for HP 24-000045. Address is 33 Vinyl Avenue. The applicant is Niranjan Gauli. And is the applicant here tonight?
Mr. Chairman, through you, yes, the applicant is here. He's here to answer any questions that the commission might have after there's a discussion of the content of the MOA with the commission. He's certainly here to answer any questions you have.
Okay. Do we, so we have materials that were circulated. Would the commission like to have any kind of rundown of what's being proposed, or have you all looked at the materials, or do you want to have something put up on the screen so we can look at it?
I think it'd be good to have it put up on the screen and maybe a quick run through.
Okay. And this is not a public hearing, but any members of the public who are watching, just a reminder, we're not the zoning board, we're not the planning board, we're strictly looking at the current proposal for a memorandum of agreement. So we won't be discussing things that might be of broader questions and stuff like that. But we're not taking public comment on this since it's a MOA discussion. So yeah, let's get something up on the screen here.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, through you, I have just unmuted Mr. Gauli. Niranjan, you should be able to come on screen and actually share your screen if you wouldn't mind putting up some images of the existing property and the proposed replacement building.
Absolutely, Sarah. Thank you and good evening, everyone. This is Niranjan. I'm just trying to figure out how can I, put my screen up, but I'm not able to do that. But thank you for your time.
I could do that for you if you'd like.
Yeah, if you could do that, that would be great. I was just trying to do that, and there's no way for me to.
Okay. Actually, let me just double check. Could you promote him? Oh, I guess you are promoted. Do you see a share button on the bottom of your screen when you kind of there's a bottom menu button, and then there's should be a green up arrow that says share?
No, I unfortunately I don't. The only buttons I see is chat, captions, and then there's a more.
Okay.
And I do not see anything to share.
On my screen, there's a share button, but when I try it, it says it's disabled.
Yes, I think that's because of the permissions that you have. Madison, would you be able to promote Naranjan to our level so that he could possibly share his screen?
Yes. Give me 1 second.
And while Madison does that, if I could, for the benefit of the public, and for some background for the commission, Mr. Chairman, through you, if I could just explain, the property at 33 Vinyl Ave, was determined to be preferably preserved by the commission in August of 2024, thereby, imposing the maximum 18-month delay of demolition on the building. In the city of Somerville, we have a very robust process that we refer to as the MOA, or Memorandum of Agreement process. If a building that's been determined preferably preserved, if a building has been determined preferably preserved, then an applicant can opt to work with city staff on some means of preservation for that structure. That could be anything from retaining the existing structure, restoring it and adding additions and redoing the inside, to salvage of component parts of the building, to design for a totally new building on the property. And what we do is we work on a regular monthly basis with members of planning staff and members of ISD, particularly when it comes to an addition to a building or a replacement structure, so that we can ensure from an ISD perspective that the building is meeting zoning requirements. So we essentially provide free design consulting and free regular zoning analysis for people who are under demo delay and undergoing the MOA process. If we come to an agreement about a replacement structure and what it will look like, then we as staff prepare a memorandum of agreement that states the things that the applicant will do, such as taking photographs and providing architectural drawings of the existing and replacement building and photographs of the existing building. And then the plans, which you're about to see, that the HPC will review and determine if they're satisfied with that for a replacement structure. If they vote to approve the replacement structure and the provisions laid forth in the MOA, then the building is released to be demolished as soon as the applicant has recorded the agreed to memorandum of agreement with the Middlesex County Registry of Deeds. So this can shorten the 18-month delay of demo time. And so with that, Naranjan, do you want to show this? But just be very brief, be quick about it, I guess I would say.
All right. No, absolutely. I would respect the time of everyone here. Thank you again, respectable members of the committee. This package, this proposal is for 33 Vinyl Ave. At present, what we have is a two-family structure on a 6,200 square feet lot. Let me see if I could share. And this is how it.
Sorry, if I could interrupt. I'm so sorry, Naranjan. Don't go into any zoning details. That's the one thing that they can't consider any of that. So just, what you've got, what the building is, and go ahead on from there. So
Absolutely.
And you're great.
Right.
You'll be great.
All right. Great. So yes, it's an existing two-family on a bigger 6,200 square feet lot. What we have over here is, there are a few features, which are pretty typical, which we, I wanted to preserve on my design, which you would see in a bit. There's the existing elevation front and right. There's the rear and the left elevation that we have for the property. Now, few things, that I thought it's important to share is the existing material. We do have some wooden doors, some windows, vinyl windows, but with a wooden trim, asphalt roof, concrete steps, shingles. Again, nothing out of nothing different than what we see throughout Somerville. But there are few details that we wanted to capture in the new design. One of which is it particularly stands out is the mansard roof. We do have some whimsical eyebrow shaped dormers. There the bay is kind of unique in a way that it does have some stick design to it. It also has kind of like a skirt around the bay, which again is a feature that I was looking to save or preserve in the new design. Roof brackets, the roof is supported by multiple brackets on all the sides. So those are few of the things that I noticed, and I thought it would look great on the newer design. And also the door was supported by the door canopy supported by the brackets. So the interior, again, nothing unusual is what we have. There are a few things which are coming off, but again, nothing with historical thing. Now with the proposed building, what we have, this the site plan for the proposed building, zoning, which I'm gonna skip here. But this what the front elevation would look like. You would observe that the building looks similar or has those characteristics from the building that we have at present. There's a rear and the right elevation for the building. Now again, what we are looking at are the terms we discussed, was to keep those was to keep that mansard roof, to keep those whimsical eyebrow shape window dormers, keeping those brackets on the doors and the roof, as well as keeping the design for the bay with the skirt around the bay, and few other things, right? And at the same time, the windows is kind of like an upgrade. We're gonna do 2/2 for the windows, which looks great with some of the Victorian style property renovation that we have in the city. That is what we're gonna be proposing here for the design, if that gets approved through historical. And a few other things, just diving deep into some of the details. Again, these are the brackets. There was a feedback to add a dentil trim, so that it provides some division of on the elevation, which we're gonna do that. But at the same time, you could see some of the materials being used are similar to what we have on the existing building. And for the site material, I do want to note that most of it is gonna be grass and pea stone, but at the same time, I do feel like there's a good use of red brick pavers. If we could do that at the front, it goes with some of the Victorian looking houses in the neighborhood, and just to have that hint of red brick would help to go with the design of the whole structure. And these are again some of the doors and window profile that we're gonna use here. Mostly fiberglass on the exterior, wooden on the interior, but black on both the side, if that helps. All right. Well, this is again more than happy to answer questions. I just wanted to keep it quick. And we do have some appendix, with the existing floor plan, uh, some more information, on the material we're gonna use. But more than happy to answer any question. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Let's see, this is not a public hearing, so I want to thank you for working with staff on this. This looks like you've done quite a lot with it, and I'd like to turn it over to the commission and see if you all have thoughts. Anybody has any opinions? Pipe right up.
I just wanted to ask staff, what we should know about from your perspective, about what the memorandum of agreement says about what needs to happen.
Mr. Chairman, through you, I'm sorry, could you be a little more specific, Mr. Bauer? I'm sorry. I don't
Sure,
quite
so
understand the question.
So what we are approving is not the design per se, but the memorandum of agreement. So is there anything that you want us to know about what's in the memorandum of agreement?
I see. Thank you for that clarification. I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that initially. So yes,
Sorry, I
so
wasn't clear.
the memorandum of agreement, so does a few things. So the memorandum of agreement requires photographs of the existing building, all elevations exterior, as well as interior of each floor, and they have to all be labeled in a certain way. And that is because we want to document a building as it was, be able to recognize some of its original features, but also see like what point it had gotten to at the point that it was requested for demolition. Architectural plans will also be provided of the existing building interior and exterior as well, for that same reason, to codify it for history, as it were. The next major component is also going to be obviously architectural plans of the replacement building, as well as these images. So the plans themselves, the design proposals themselves, will be attached to the memorandum of agreement and will become part of that memorandum. So what we have also done in the memorandum is allowed for a provision that if there are any minor changes that need to happen to this building in order to accommodate like a zoning requirement, so that the applicant wouldn't need to, go for a variance or anything like that, that we as staff can't approve anything that we think is minor. And by minor, I don't mean, shrinking the building by 20 feet. That's not minor. I mean something like, let's say like a slight change in, say, like width to the front step or the door hood or something of that nature. We do have very, very precise, a very, very precise zoning code in terms of measurements for different building components. So we just want to make sure that, if there is something minor that was missed in the ISD review of this during our MOA meetings, that we can just adjust for them accordingly and get the applicant on its way, but still remain true to whatever the HPC approves.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So I guess looking at this, my reaction is that in general, I think I applaud the team and the discussion that's gone into it in terms of capturing a lot of the character of the original building in some ways at this new scale and massing. And also in a lot of ways, it feels like, the sort of larger buildings of that era. I think my question comes down to some of the details. I noticed, for instance, that the roof eave corbels have made it on there on the large mansard roof, but around the skirts for the roof over the bay, where in the original house there were little corbels holding that skirt up as well, if I remember right from the earlier pictures. Here it's just the piece of trim. And I don't know how much of that was, the result of practicality, and what's available to scale with the pieces that are available and the materials that are proposed to use, or a negotiation of exactly how much. I think the other question, since we're on this image sheet, and thank you for flipping back to it, the stick design over the bay hoods and the sort of you know, the additional wooden trim on the eyebrow shaped dormers on the top level. Yeah, those sorts of features in the proposed building end up with sort of a flatter treatment that nods to them, which, I mean, maybe that's enough. We don't want to necessarily slavishly ape the historical style in a brand new material when it's not actually original material, right? Like you could build that out of new materials and it would look like the old version, but not be historic. And maybe the nod to it is enough. I don't have a strong sense of that yet. I just wanted to confirm that what we were seeing on the rendering of the new building, where the details have been simplified, that's an intentional choice and not just it was a quick rendering.
So, Mr. Chairman, through you, if I could, yes. So that was actually an intentional choice. So,
Okay.
our choices were towards, you know, showing some things like the paired brackets,
Yeah.
which we know one needs to be centered a little bit better under one of those windows. Like ever since I talked about it with Chair Parks this morning, I've been like looking at it. It's killing me. But so things like that, those were conscious choices to, give a nod to the paired brackets in the same
Sure.
location on the existing building, but we purposely did look to do something different by having more of a heavy sort of band molding in the division between the two stories of the bay, where the focus was largely in the mansard roof and in that interesting sort of oh, I don't know what you'd call it. Doohickey is the only word that I can think of in that above the second story dormer. Because even though that's not original to the building, it's certainly a later interesting feature. And so we really focused on that. We also focused on the same type of dormers, like to have it be a gable dormer as
Yeah.
opposed to a rounded or arched or whatever. And I had asked them to build out, you know, those so that there was like more, you know, band molding there. Now there are a couple of other areas that, as Chair Parks and I discussed this morning, where that band molding could also be added to give the whole facade an even stronger appearance so that it doesn't look so flat. But yeah, these were actually intentional choices that we did make. And I do have to say, I really want to thank Naranjan very much while we're all here. And so, you know, before we're done and he steps off, because everything that we did ask him to do, he came back in the next meeting and had done those things. So it has been he's been very, very responsive to everything that ISD has said and that we have said as well. So that, you know, that makes us, so anybody who's in the audience and who has or is going to have a building under the demo delay, take note. It makes the process go much smoother and we can really get hopefully a very satisfactory result.
Yeah. And that makes sense to me. And I think that's, like I said, if I looked at it in a vacuum, not compared to the original building, it makes a ton of sense. And I think that rationale for, you know, focusing on parts of it without slavishly imitating makes, yeah, there's good reason for that. So
Okay, great.
It's not necessarily something I object to. I just wanted to be sure I knew whether it was intentionally simplified or just rendering simplified.
Right. Sure thing.
I just have one question. What is the body material? Did I miss that?
No, that will be was it hardy plank, Naranjan?
Yes, it's gonna be hardy, cement hardy.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, I applaud. I too would agree that I appreciate that you've been working with the staff on this and you've got obviously I'd love to see the old building fixed up, but I realize that's not realistic in this case. So I think you've come up with a kind of a fun, albeit much larger replacement for it. And so in some ways, when you become more literal like this with something that's historically kind of references that, you become in a way a victim of your success, because then we begin to look at smaller details that we might not have looked at previously and say, okay, so you did that. Well, how about,
Yes.
and a couple
Yeah.
little things, which I think is good. You kind of it's nice. And just to rattle off a few little things, as Sarah mentioned, the brackets, the paired brackets don't align. I think that's probably just a thing that'll get scooched over in the final design there, so that they line up with the top dormers, because you've got a symmetrical thing going in here. So when you get involved with symmetry, you have to kind of carry it through. And I think maybe the dental moldings that you've shown on that lower band maybe ought to be better placed up on the top there, because they are sort of interrupted by the bays, and it might make it a little bit easier to just do those up above on the frieze board right beneath the eaves.
And
that makes
do you
sense.
know, Mr. Chairman, through you, if I could, so, and I think and Ranjan, you responded to what we had asked for, so, absolutely, don't worry. So, but if the dental molding you see between the first and the second floor, if that dental molding could instead go underneath the eaves, right, so you'd still have the paired brackets, but then you'd have a dental under the eaves as well. And then I think what Chair Parks and I talked about this morning is you see where you have the dental molding currently located. If you took the molding detail that you have on the dormers there, right underneath that sort of dormer kick out
On the
eyebrow, if
side.
you will. Yes, if you could just carry that across the
Okay.
front of the building instead of the dental then that actually I think might work a little bit better
So
in the end.
just to be sure I'm clear on what we're talking about, you're proposing, let me see if putting the dentals, up in right under the eaves or at the bottom of the trim up here.
Um,
I'm
up
trying to
under
figure out which is,
I think it would typically be at the transition. Would that be in lieu of a bed molding or in addition to it? I don't remember my Greek.
Shoot. Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I think this morning one of the things you talked about was like maybe just doing a bed molding instead
Yeah, and I'd be fine
of
with
the
that. I
dental.
mean,
instead of the
this is not
dentals.
I remind myself, this is not a historic district. This is like just general. We can't get too into the weeds with it, but I noticed when I first looked at it that, gee, those dentals probably, since they get broken up by the bays, that maybe that I ought to go up there, or just get rid of them and put a nice bed molding.
Mhm.
Which
Yeah,
is actually, you need to have something at that transition anyway, just visually, where the frieze board hits the soffit.
Mhm.
Typically, it'd have a convex sort of a bed with a little fillet down below.
Mhm.
And I think the other thing which I would love for you to explore is the two entryways. You see how the two little overhangs are sort of off center with the doors? For some reason that I keep noticing that. And is there any reason we couldn't just kind of nudge them towards the center a little bit so that they're centered over the doors? And the other comment, if I may just suggest something, would be that those two overhangs have a flat, I don't know, I don't see them from obliquely, but that they return into the wall, the fascia return, and then you have sort of like a hip thing. Like you see, if you walk around the neighborhood, you see a lot of that kind of thing, which just kind of dresses it up a little bit more. For this particular style, you usually see those front ones with a little bit more, less shed-like and more pyramidal. And Sarah and I talked about that this morning, and she could probably give you more. And this is like a small thing. I would just say I'm totally okay with the general design you have there. So that's my one suggestion there.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could through you, so Naranja, we're talking about the hoods over the doors. We're just talking about basically the fixed canopy, if you will, over the door.
Right. Yes.
Yep, just
Yeah.
making a slight adjustment there.
I can just
Mhm.
jump in on that. So right now the hoods are centered over, not over the doors, but they are centered over the stairs.
Over the rails, correct?
So I
Yes,
think,
yes.
it looks like the stairs then are take up the full space between the rails, so we couldn't just move the hoods because then they wouldn't be centered over the.
Yeah, it has to be the
So
two
I
together.
agree that it looks a little bit odd to me to have the door off, but I just want to note that it's not just a matter of moving the hoods.
It'd essentially be a matter of widening the stairs, I think, to do it, because
Yeah,
I
you could give it,
suspect that
yeah.
I suspect that there are dimensional clearance reasons to have space to one side of the door.
Not necessarily, but you know what we could do if the
Not necessarily
discussion.
zoning wise, but building.
Right. But probably the location of the light to the side of the doors is probably also it's probably allowing for space for that. So if what we're talking about is trying to get those doors a little more centered and to have a slightly hip, I guess you could say, as opposed to like straight shed door hood, I'd be happy to work if largely the HPC is happy with other elements of the MOA, I'm happy to work with just some like minor finessing of this with the applicant that he can just do as a final design set that he would turn into me that I could then attach to the memorandum of agreement rather than having him come back.
That works for me. I think.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
And if I could, Mr. Chairman, I think one of the other things that we mentioned, you had a comment about that little, the detail, the trim detail that is between the ground floor and I guess the second floor, of the bay itself, right before we get to the belt course, that could use some, band molding as
Oh,
well.
yeah,
It's on the planar side. So if it could look similar to the molding used underneath the sort of roof of the second story of the bay, I think that was one of the things you mentioned this morning as well.
yep.
And then I think the last thing that you mentioned that there is often a trim piece that is put under the sill of a window, and you sent some examples of that this morning.
It's just a little Scotia molding that would go underneath the sill, and
Mhm.
especially in modern sills, which are narrower than the old ones. And again,
Mhm.
this is being a little bit, as I mentioned, you're a victim of your success because of focusing on things like that. But and again, if staff wants to work with them on that, there's really no reason to come back and look at something else because I'm liking what I see.
Okay. So Naranjan, just to I know we've just talked about a lot of different things all at once. So basically, at least what I'm hearing from a couple of members of the HPC, I haven't heard from everybody yet, but there's just like a few tweaks that are essentially like small. It's small details that make a big impact and are not like they're not like consequential to like making the numbers work on the project, but it's just like beefing up a little bit more of the trim and maybe just scooching a couple of things like the brackets underneath the one of the dormer windows just to make sure that they align. And basically that's something that you and I could work on. I can sit down, have a meeting with you and explain exactly what those things are and what they need to look like. And you have to send me an updated design sheet anyhow. And then it would be, you'd be good to go. You wouldn't have to come back to the commission again.
Sure, I'm taking notes, and and to be honest, I'm liking the discussion. Even if it's minor details, it just adds to the character. And
Right.
I'm not just saying it for for this to get through, but this doesn't really cost a lot of lot, right? It's
Right.
so minor changes are much more appreciated for me to work on.
Great. Awesome.
Anybody else in the
Yes.
commission have any thoughts? Have we heard from, I don't think we've heard from everybody yet.
I don't really have anything to add. I concur with the comments that I've heard shared and appreciate the efforts that the homeowners put into adjusting the plans.
I would agree.
Okay. Unless anybody else has anything more to add, I guess we could entertain a motion to accept the MOA with the condition that the details we've discussed at the meeting be resolved with staff. However you want to phrase that, but that's the gist of it.
I think you phrased it pretty well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Bauer, seconded by Mr. Shagnon. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And I'll do a roll call, starting with Mr. Bauer,
Yes.
Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
Ms. Price,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. So there you have it. Thank you for coming to us tonight, and good luck with everything.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you too. Naranjan, I'll email you, okay, in the next couple of days and we'll set something up.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sarah.
Awesome. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Good night.
Oh, you're taking off too, right, Sarah? Okay.
I am. I had to stop at a friend's house on the way home in order to make the meeting. So now I got to scoot
Okay.
back to my house.
They're about to kick you out.
He said, well, I would. Thanks so much. Have a good
Suck
night.
up the bandwidth.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, the second of the two things is a review under the demolition delay ordinance. And this is a determination of preferably reserved status, which is a step 2 in a demolition delay process. And why don't I read the case into the order? It's HP 24-000125, address is 8 Bolton Street. The applicant is Mezeltoff LLC, Julian Lewis. Owner is Stephen Ober. The applicant seeks to demolish a building that is at least 75 years of age. And I believe this was something that it was sort of fast tracked because they conceded significance. So we went
That-
straight to.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Um,
Is this Mr. Lewis or?
Yes, this is Julian Lewis speaking.
Sure. Do you want to
Good
give us a
evening.
little, good evening, a little, anything you want to tell us or?
Sure, I can
Synopsis.
give a quick rundown. Firstly, thanks for having us. Just one thing to correct, we are the applicant, Mazel Tov LLC, and also the owner. So Stephen Ober does not own the property anymore. We in fact do.
Okay,
So just to clarify that.
sure, thank you.
There's an existing three-family property, three-family structure on the property that's sits on a 9,360 square foot lot. The reason we decided to move forward and concede historical significance was because the date of which the original structure here was built based on our research and the staff's report. It appears that the side-by-side two-family, originally two-family, was built between 1860 and 1865, and features symmetrical 4-bay front elevation. There are some ornate brackets, porch brackets, that were noted in staff's report. It looks like most of the windows have been replaced vinyl windows, although there may be some original windows that remained. Some of the alterations include asbestos shingle siding, a painted foundation. It looks like there was a chimney stack that was removed at some point. This was actually part of an 1851 subdivision by Amory Houghton. It was a former Union Glass company, and it was intended for worker housing near Union Square. So we, have applied for demolition review with the commission, and looking forward to working with all the members throughout the process, and would welcome any initial feedback and discussion on 8 Bolton Street.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
So let's see, this is a public hearing, so unless somebody else in your group wants to speak, would move next to the public comment. And if there are any members of the public who'd like to speak about this case, please raise your hand and staff will unmute you.
Chair Parks, this is Madison Anthony speaking. I am promoting a Serena Bodner to make a public comment. Serena, when you're promoted, please state your name and your address, and just give me 1 second while I organize everything. All right. And once you're promoted, you will have 2 minutes to speak. One second, technical difficulties. All right, whenever you're ready.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. All right, thank you. I won't take up very much time. I had sent a letter to the commission to urge the commission to find this preferably preserved, and I just wanted to make sure that everybody in the Historic Commission had seen my letter on that. Oh, sorry. My name is Serena Bodner. I live at 31 Bolton Street, so I'm just down the street from this house, across the street, and about 6 houses down. And then I had sent a letter to the Historic Commission. I just wanted to make sure that that everybody had seen that. So that's all I had.
Okay.
Great. If there is anyone else who wishes to speak, please raise your hand. All right. It looks like that is everyone, Chair Parks.
All right. So I will close the public comment portion of this hearing and toss this out to commission. Who has thoughts on this? Or questions?
I guess I have a question. Because I haven't been on the commission that long. So the homeowners agree that they find it historic. And now we are voting to find it historically significant and preferably preserved, correct? And
Yep.
so we just skipped the first step, and now we're going into full discussion and going directly to vote if it should be preserved,
Yes.
preferably preserved. Okay. Well, I guess I'll just start since I have the mic open.
Sure.
1860 to 1865 is a pretty amazing time, if you think about it. And there's a lot of details that are still there. It has a twin to it that was built at the same time. They look similar. And you know, the porch details and, you know, some of the windows are still there. I think that since it's a part of a group of buildings or more than one, 4 units really, that that the property should be preserved rather than demolished. I'm curious to hear everybody else's opinion.
Sure. Thank you.
Well, I don't know that I have anything to add to what Ms. Price said, but I think I agree with everything that she said.
Thank you.
I'm still working on wrapping my head around it a little bit, but certainly dates from a particular, era of construction. And in fact, I think not only is there a twin next to it, but I think that the building 2 houses further down the street may also be contemporary, the 2 of them, if it's not quite the same, if we look on the old enough maps. You know, it's on the 1895 Bromley Atlas. There's a third down the road, but I haven't gotten it. My computer's being slow, so I haven't managed to look at Street View yet to figure out whether it actually matches. But yeah, I think it retains so much of its original form and massing, and a lot of the original character that, you know, in the absence of the proposal for what will be there, because preferably preserved sort of an abstract concept when there's not a comparison point. It certainly seems like from an overall perspective, it feels to me worth preserving at the moment.
Thank you. I would concur with all that. I'm looking through it, actually has a remarkable, the massing is obviously intact. A lot about it is original. The trim, the rake moldings, and some stuff that would typically have been lost by now is actually still there. It's rather stately twin that is still there. So the two of them kind of command a presence in the street that way. And I don't know if this would quite rise to the level maybe of importance of person, but it seems to have a connection. I was just trying to sleuth out to Amory Houghton, who, according to the staff report, was the original owner of the Union Glass Company, if I get that right. First sale of the property was from Thomas Dana to who acquired it from, which is actually big because the Union Glass Company was a big industry in the area, and they went on to become Corningware and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I would concur.
I would say I think he was the original owner in the context that he developed all the lots and then sold them as worker housing. So
The first known sale was Thomas Dana acquired Union Glass Company and this land from Amory. Okay.
Just want to note looks like number 2022 is a third one of these houses.
yeah, that's what I was
And looking at the 1874 Hopkins map, you can see that those three properties were owned by the same person, even though the building or the lot in between this one and 22 was owned by somebody else. So that would also seem to confirm that it's a set of three.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Dick.
Thanks for sleuthing up that address. That was in fact the one I was referring to.
Well, what I'm hearing is some concurrence about the merits of this building. So unless anybody else has more to add, have we heard from you, Ryan, already?
I really don't have anything to add. I would agree with the sentiments that have been shared, and would certainly lean towards preferably preserve versus the opposite.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then we probably move ahead with a motion.
I would move that the commission find the property at 8 Bolton Street preferably preserved.
Second that.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Shagnon, seconded by Ms. Price. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And move to my screen. We'll do a roll call. Ms. Price,
Yes.
Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
Mr. Bauer,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. And then we need to adopt some findings, which we could more or less piggyback off of what we've talked about. Its age, its level of integrity, original integrity, its relationship to other buildings on the street, which were developed at the same time, its immediate neighbor and one down the street, apparently. It's a good representation of a house of that time period, sort of pre-Victorian. depending how you define Victorian era versus styles. I know that one's debated, but anyway, any other changes anyone would like to make to that or additions?
I think that feels like it covers it to me.
Okay.
Hearing nothing, I would move that we adopt the findings as stated by Chair Parks as our findings.
Second that.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Shagnon, seconded by Ms. Price. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Do the roll call again. Ms. Price,
Yes.
Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
Mr. Bauer,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. So there you have it. Applicants, you've seen from the case before you that the process is to sort of work with staff and see where things can go. Thank you for coming to us tonight.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it, and I hope everyone has a great night. Look
You
forward
too.
to working with
Sure.
you
Thank
going
you.
forward.
Okay, let me pull my agenda back here. I've overloaded with open windows here. Where is it? Okay, we have minutes, which I'll confess I haven't read yet, but let me take a quick pass.
I have a change to those minutes. It said that I was absent. I think it was just a typo. I was present and Dan was gone. He was absent. This was the night we didn't have quorum.
Oh, right.
Oh,
We can make a
That's-
note of
That's some
that.
very short minutes.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
just pulling it up thinking, well, I picked the right minutes to not have read yet. I can quick. Okay,
Yeah,
2-minute
I think
meeting.
we can make a note of that and then approve the minutes as amended
Yeah.
sure.
after, yeah.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve these minutes as amended?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, a motion to approve the minutes as amended by Mr. Shagnon, seconded by Ms. Price. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ms. Price,
Yes.
Mr. Falvey,
Abstain, I was absent.
okay, Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
Mr. Bauer,
I abstain. I was absent.
okay, and I'll vote yes. So we have ourselves minutes. And the other item on our agenda, I think, is a CPC update.
Right.
Get and I do not believe we have had a meeting in the intervening meetings here. So we're still in the same state where we had our public hearing most recently, collecting feedback from various stakeholders and people who have a history with working with the CPC. So there's really no update on that that I'm aware of. Any have questions about that?
No.
Okay.
Parallels in meeting minutes. Nothing to report.
Yeah.
All right.
Any other items of business that we could? Well, we can't really take up new items of business, but anything else someone wants to add before we adjourn?
Happy spring.
Yeah, you too. Been a torturous April for me. I don't know. It's always this way. You get a couple good days, some really bad days, back and forth.
I had an acquaintance, not this past weekend, but the one before, comment, it'd be really nice to have 2 days of spring in a row. And now we finally have had that, so it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So our next, do we have a second meeting this month?
This is, isn't it?
It's for this month.
Oh, this is it, the second one already?
Yeah.
Oh, because we had one on the, I'll pull up my calendar.
We had one on the first, I
Oh, we
believe.
did. All right. So I misspoke at the beginning when I said this is the first of our 2 April meetings, but
Uh-oh.
that won't obligate us to have another.
And does that
Um,
turn a difficult April into a joyous activity?
Yeah, we suddenly have an extra couple Tuesdays. Well, one Tuesday. All right, so our next meeting then is May 6th.
Yep.
That's the one that DJ you said you can't come
That's
to?
the one I will have to miss. Yeah, I have a work commitment that night.
Okay.
Couldn't be scheduled a different day, so.
Do you think you'd be able to join us, Dick, or will you be around?
Yes, I will be able to join for that.
Thank you,
You'll be-
Dick.
Thanks. Retirement won't come easy for you from this commission. At some point, you just have to force it on us. We enjoy your presence. It's great to see you.
Okay, well,
Don't
it's
don't
good to be
force it
here.
on us too soon.
Absolutely.
All right, was there an motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
I will second that.
Mr. Falvey wants to end it, seconded by Mr. Shagnon. A favor of adjourning? Aye.
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 Opposed?
Bye.
We'll do our adjourning roll call. Ms. Price,
Yes.
Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
Mr. Bauer,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. And we'll see you all in a few weeks.
Thank you, Madison and Kristen. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you all.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.